Welcome back to another weekly comedy podcast brought to you by the one, the only Lovdev Bar Paga. You are listening to a crazy little thing called Lovdev. That's me. This is episode 178. Miss Hagagagagagagagagaaa. Good evening, good day, whatever it is. Hello again. It's your favourite MC. Why am I saying MC? Do you know why I'm saying MC? It's because I'm MCing a gig tonight. I do not know why I said that. That wasn't even pre-planned. That was like, let's go off the cuff, Lovdev. Let's see what kind of introduction you can do. And I totally messed it up. Maybe it's because I am MCing a gig tonight. That could be the reason why I said MC. Hello, I'm your MC. I'm MCing a gig. I don't MC many gigs, but I'm doing one tonight. And the lineup is insane. There's Michael Akadiri, Duncan Oakley, and Gary Delaney, who's headlining the event. I will be there, and I obviously have to do my MC duties. I hope I do not mess up like I did right now. I'll probably end up going, hello, welcome to a crazy little thing called Lovdev. And everyone's going to look at me and go, that's a long name. I've got a feeling now I'm going to mess up totally. I'll tell you who does mess up a lot. People, audiences. I know nowadays everything is PC, you can't say this and you can't say that. I do know there's comics out there that are saying, oh, I'll keep hearing this, but it's true. There's people out there, right, who think comics pretend to be something else. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I saw the post up the other day. It was put up by the Red Imp Comedy Club. I believe it's in London, Walthamstow. That's London way. I'm guessing it is. It's got to be. You're not going to believe this, but there's a comic on the circuit named Rosie Jones who has cerebral palsy. Somebody walked out of her set because, and this is their words, we were offended by Rosie Holt's, she even got the name wrong, portrayal of disabled person is very offensive. First of all, I'm offended by your sentence because it does not make any sense. I am terrible at sentences. You guys, I'm terrible at saying certain words. You lot know that. But you kind of got used to it and you laugh along, which is fine. She's offended by a comic who is actually disabled and she thought she's pretending to be disabled. How can someone pretend to be disabled through a whole set? Where in that set do you think, oh, she was normal then for a minute? Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. Apparently, her partner was there, her husband was watching, and he stayed. He didn't want to go. So she left and had to wait for him to watch her. And then they left together. I don't even know if they left together. Good on the husband for not getting up and leaving. And secondly, not making a complaint for something that's absolutely ridiculous. He obviously knew. Of course she's disabled. I'll tell you what it is. People can't hack certain things sometimes. This woman is obviously a disableist. She must have just sat and watched Rosie for 10 minutes and thought, no, I can't do this. It's freaking me out. I reckon she got freaked out by Rosie Jones and left and then pretended the reason she left was because Rosie is pretending to be disabled, which is absolutely nuts. She clearly has not seen Rosie on Live at Apollo and other famous TV shows that she's doing. Rosie's currently doing really well on the comedy circuit. She's also funny. Why would someone pretend to be disabled. I don't get it. I had someone complain to say I was racist against Asians. I'm like, hello, I'm an Asian. If you're offended because I'm doing jokes about myself and my culture and my identity, you're the one who has a problem with it, not me. Rest of the audience were absolutely loving it. So why do you have to sit there with your arms folded? Which is what she did. I did video that, and a lot of you already know this story. I don't know what's happened to that video because the audio was messed up because there was a fan blowing behind it, and it kind of, you couldn't really hear it, everything. Now, I wish I still had that because now I've got the technology to get rid of that noise, and I would have put that up on TikTok, and I think that would have blown up nicely. It's absolutely crazy out there. I did this gig the other day. Sometimes people don't know what they're doing. I saw a gig come up in Wales. It was posted up by another comic. It sounded like a corporate. They wanted a comedian for an over-15s football club. I thought, okay, they're over 15. I don't really swear anyway, and I'm pretty clean, and I can keep it clean if there's kids there. Got to the venue. As soon as I walked in, I was like, this is not going to work. There were kids in there from the age of 2 up to about 12. And the bloke was like, no, I told him it was under 15s. And I was like, I was told it's over 15s. I told him straight, the bloke, I said, this isn't going to work. You're going to get noise. Parents not going to listen. It's going to be an absolute chaos. And he said, all right. I said, I heard you wanted 30 minutes. I'll be honest with you, mate. You'll be lucky to get 20 minutes. I said, I'll aim for 30, but let's call it 20. If it's going well, I'll carry on. I guarantee you it's not going to carry on. I don't know how I survived, first of all. 18 minutes in total. And I think 17 minutes of it was just me talking to the kids and one or two parents, and I wasn't even doing comedy. And the bloke kept saying to me, take the mickey out of the parents, mate. Take the mickey out of the parents. I thought, you lot have watched too much Paul Smith. I said, that's not comedy. I said, I do jokes. I do material. It's not what you see on the TV, on the internet. All he wanted was the parents to get a bollocking. That's what he wanted. It was a hard 18 minutes. The kids were lovely, though. They were sat down more appropriately than the parents. The parents were just like, they were in their own world. I don't even think the parents wanted to be there, in all honesty. I grabbed some tuna sandwiches and I got the hell out of there. Do you know what I haven't done in ages? Did I do it last? It's been a while. I haven't done this,
Truth, am I the a-hole? Tell me the truth, am I the a-hole?
Tell me the truth, am I the a-hole? Who's the a-hole? Let's have a look. Somebody called Sirtoin Senolictic. I think I've said your username properly. Are they the a-hole for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview? Before I even read this, I'm going to guess it's someone who just could not stop talking, and you're trying to ask them a question, and they just carried on talking. When you do a training online on Zoom. I had one yesterday. I had a training online for 2 hours before I do the ADAO. 2-hour training. And somebody kept interrupting. Like, we all had to introduce ourselves. And this bloke, I don't know why, after 10 minutes, while this woman was started a training and going through the slides, this bloke went, oh, hello, sorry, I'm Jonathan. We're making names up just to hide identity. I'm Jonathan. I forgot to introduce myself. And I was thinking, who cares? No one cares. We don't care, mate. You missed that opportunity 10 minutes ago. And now, halfway through the slides, you wanna say, hello, I'm Jonathan. Like, you're very important. And then I knew he's one of them. As soon as I heard his voice, I went, oh, he's one of them. He wants to tell the whole world about himself. And he did. I'm Jonathan. I've been in the care industry for 20 years. I've worked in forensics. I've worked in learning disability. Worked in the elderly, people with dementia and stuff. He was talking for about 5 minutes about his whole life. And I thought, oh, here we go. He was one of them. Now this, am I the a-hole? Sir Toyn Senolictic probably said it wrong again. We'll go back to their question. Are they the a-hole for telling somebody to shut up during a job interview? This is a story and this is how it goes. I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Sounds good so far. Then he shows up very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be intimidating environments. We did a round of introductions, just like I did yesterday when I told you. And then he opened the interview by saying, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Is this the same guy who was in my Zoom training yesterday? Now, I haven't even pre-read this, guys. I always read it off the cuff. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Can you believe that? He's one of them. We said, okay, go for it. Let's have a look what he was saying. He started talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask up for a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, I will always answer, just give me a moment. And then he continued talking. Oh, God, he's too keen, this guy. A co-worker jumped in with another question and he said the same thing to her. This is how he blags his way through a job. So you ask him a question which is to do with the job and he says, hang on a minute, I'll tell you. Let me just tell you about this one moment I had. This guy's brilliant. I hope you employed him. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over to him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in a such long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. I think this guy works in sales. This is brilliant. I like this. My co-worker asked another question, and the same thing happened. Oh, God, this is great. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask you if you have any questions for us. This is a standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews. He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. Then he asked another question, which my co-worker started to answer. But again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. This guy proper loves himself, isn't it? I like this. This is great. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he just kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, John, you really have to shut up and listen. He was surprised. Oh, hang on. Is his name John? This is the same bloke, isn't it? Jonathan and John. It's the same bloke. Anyway, at that point, I was done. I said, John, you really have to shut up. He was surprised, as was my co-worker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, You walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything away from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career. Was that a pun you did on him? He apologised and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. I wouldn't feel bad for the guy. Yeah, you've told him straight. Getting back to, are you the a-hole on this question? No, you're not, because if you didn't do what you did, he would have continued. You would have been there for hours. All the other people sitting outside waiting for their interview would have been like, "Oh, forget this, I'm going home." So I think you've told him straight. He's learnt a lesson. Stop talking about yourself. A couple of minutes is fine. But to interrupt someone else during an interview, it says it all. And he would be one of those people you have in the office. He will not let you go. He's like Colin from What We Do in the Shadows. That's him. If you've not seen it, watch it. He drains your energy out. Just by talking to you. Talking about am I the a-hole? There's a lot of people out there who are actual a-holes. I was heading back home from a gig and I witnessed somebody crash a car into a lamppost and a postbox. Like, it literally hit both of them. Now, I stopped because I was kind of behind him. I was 2 or 3 cars behind him. At first, I thought I was just pulling up onto a drive because it was a road, a normal road, and there's houses on the left, and I think there's a field on the right, and it's not too far from my house. He pulled up, and I just seen boom, and I seen like loads of smoke, and I thought, "Oh God, what's happened here?" So I quickly pulled up, and I got out of the car, and I'll tell you what amazes me. On the opposite side, as the traffic was moving down, no one stopped. No one got out of their car or pulled over to think, is this person all right? I mean, for all they knew, they could have had a heart attack. So I'm glad that I stopped. He was fine, thankfully. The couple of the neighbours come out of their houses and thought, what the hell's going on here? It was a taxi driver. And he said, I got the late, I can't see. I was like, okay, he's not like proper English. Not in a racist way. He's from another country. I said, "Are you all right, mate?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "What happened?" He said, I assumed that was a road, so I quickly turned, and he hit a lamppost. Whether he was, I don't know what he was doing. I don't even know if he was drink driving, but there was no road near it, so I don't know why he turned and just. It's like he kamikazed himself. That's what he did. But the whole point of it is that people out there are a-holes because no one stopped to check on him, see if he's okay. Maybe because some of the neighbours come out, but come on, people, have the decency. I remember driving down the motorway and I saw this young family, and because I was travelling at quite a speed, as in, the speed limit, because I just spotted them. They had a baby in their hand and I felt really sorry for them. And I wish I could have pulled over quickly because I thought, mate, I need to get a baby and their mum to somewhere like a service station, the next service station. And because I was driving so fast, I thought it's too late to stop now. But I did end up calling the police and told them about it. So, yeah, I mean, just look out for each other, folks. It's not a difficult thing to do. But let's do a very difficult thing. I'm going to do another topic. Which one shall I pick? Let's have a look.
Ask the UK.
That's the one I've gone with. Ask the UK. I don't know why I chose this question. Because I want to know a lot more about it. It's somebody who's put it up. His name's Baron Van Marlen. Baron Van Marlen says, how do I convince a single mom to let me cut her grass? Now, I don't know whether that's an innuendo or he actually means her proper garden, her back garden. He wants to cut it. Let's find out. He says there's a mom at a school who I've known pretty well for a few years now. I was round her house when I noticed her grass in her back garden. Yep, it is a back garden. Is maybe a foot tall. I'm a 47-year-old man. You're the same age as me, mate. The thought of cutting this grass is just next level. The domestic equivalent of watching the Oasis reunion from a seat on the stage. I've offered to cut it. She says I don't need to do that. She thinks it's too much of a favour, but she doesn't understand the favour is the other way around. It will make me deliriously happy. How do I convince her without coming across as any more odd than I actually am? You are odd, mate. I'm not going to lie. This long grass is doing your head in. And you're trying to think of her, ain't you? Because you know that she's not going to cut it. Why don't you get hold of her backdoor key? I bet you've never heard that before. And get a gardener in, throw them in, cut the grass quickly, and then when she comes home, it's surprise! Look what I've done, I've cut your grass. Maybe you could make up a story that grasshoppers breed in long grass or mosquitoes, or there's got to be something out there, innit? Why don't you make up a story that the loads of snakes have been spotted in the area and they're very fond of long grass? Maybe she'll cut it then and she'll let you do it. You could do that. I don't know what some people have suggested. Someone said get a mower out in the night. I mean, you could do that, but that would obviously wake her up. Somebody else said check her laundry basket, give it a sniff to the contents, and then take away to wash. Because she says no, there's got to be a reason why she said no. Does she think that you're always going to be there doing household chores for her? Is that what it is? I'm not too sure. Yeah, just do what I said. Book a garden landscaper. Get them in. Get them to cut the grass. At least you've not done it. You've paid somebody to do it. But then that might make it even worse, because then she's going to think, oh, I owe you a favour now because you've done me a favour. Possibly. Apologies, but I've only just noticed I've left my window open in my recording studio, i.e. garage room. I don't have a recording studio. I'm not that rich. So if there was any noises in the background of cars whizzing past, apologies. But I'm not going to record this podcast all over again just because my window is open. Although, currently, right now, today, it's 32 degrees and I'm absolutely roasting. I'm sweating bucket loads. I don't know how I'm going to cope getting to this gig tonight that I've got with Gary Delaney, Michael Akadidi. I'm emceeing it, as I already mentioned. It's a 2-hour drive. I'm going to be driving in this heat. The worst thing is my AC isn't even working. And that's horrible. I'll be at the venue and I'll be sweating. Very embarrassing. Be very, very embarrassing. Talking about embarrassing, I haven't done an embarrassing moment in a long time. So I decided to pick one which has been posted by somebody called Tam Release or Tam Relis. They saying they messed up 3 years ago and they haven't stopped thinking about it ever since. I was a young barrister working at Starbucks and we had this deaf guy come in semi-regularly. There was always a bit of a barrier since we were busy and didn't have any efficient way of communicating aside from a notes app. I went home and really wanted to communicate with him, So I got to work on learning some basic conversational American Sign Language. It was a few weeks until the next time I saw him, and I got so excited to talk to him, I said hi, and he said hi back. And for some reason, the next thing I was asked if he was deaf. He said yes, and I blanked, and then I panicked. I couldn't remember an appropriate way to respond. So I just gave him 2 big thumbs up and walked away. I don't know if that meant something different. I'm too scared to look it up. And instead he's put down, he never came back. That's hilarious. So you asked him if he was deaf, and he said yes, and you panicked and just put 2 thumbs up. He must have thought this guy's taking the piss. You literally took the Mickey Mouse out of him. Oh, man. Oh, that's awful. Awful. I remember when I was doing my cab driving and I had a deaf passenger in the back, and she was absolutely beautiful. She was beautiful. She was like a goth rock chick. And she was writing notes down on a piece of paper and handing it to me. And, you know, in that moment, you feel really bad because I've got a deaf brother and I don't even sign with him. So I felt guilty and I signed to it, I have a deaf brother. And then she carried on signing, and I was like, I don't know how to sign. She must have thought, you are so evil. How do you've got a deaf sibling and you don't even know how to sign? I am a terrible, terrible human being. But I do like your embarrassing moment, Tam Rellis. I think that was absolutely brilliant. Let's end the podcast now with the noise and everything, and I'm absolutely roasting like a chicken. Let's do a weird news story. The weird news for today is an Italian belly dancer was arrested in Egypt for using seductive techniques. Sohila Tariq Hassan Hagagagag is her actual name. I hope I said the name right. Sohila Tariq Hassan Hagagag is a naturalized Italian. She was born in Egypt and holds an Egyptian citizenship. She dances under the name of Linda Martino and has more than 2 million followers on social media. The Egyptian authorities arrested her at Cairo airport last month, accusing her of corrupting public morals with her proactive dancing. The investigation was triggered by videos on her Instagram account, in which she rides around in revealing clothing and describes herself as more than you can handle. And I've got to admit it, she has a lot than I can handle. I couldn't handle all of that. There's a lot there to handle. Investigators said Miss Hagagagagag appeared in indecent clothing deliberately, exposing sensitive areas of the body in a blatant violation of social values. But she's a belly dancer, isn't that? They don't wear anything, do they? She was reported to be in possession of substantial sums of money at the time of the arrest. This makes a lot of sense. She had loads of money on her, and they thought, let's nick her, lads, we'll take the money as well. Which authorities described as the proceeds of activities liable to instigate depravity. The Cairo prosecutor accused her of having used seductive techniques and proactive dances to entice vice. She is expected to remain in jail for at least another 2 weeks, according to reports. The Italian embassy in Cairo is seeking urgent clarification on her case. Miss Hagag moved to Egypt several years ago and has built a highly successful career. I bet she's killing it. She was previously married to an Italian and said to have relatives in the Veneto region. Her videos, often shot in popular venues to Egyptian hits, have attracted millions of views on Instagram and TikTok. The indictments include investigations into a cabaret on Egyptian's north coast where Miss Hagagagagagagagagaaa appeared in indecent clothing, deliberately exposing sensitive areas of her body, in clear violation of public morals and social values. The investigations have asserted that Linda used seduction techniques and proactive dance to entice the vice. You've already repeated what you just said. Egypt has clapped down on artists and influencers accused of undermining public morality in recent years. Under the government of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, at least 5 belly dancers have ended up in jail, with a very similar case to Mrs. Hagagagagagagagagaaa. Italian media reported Katrina Andreeva, another belly dancer, has been given a 1-year jail sentence on the same charges. This is reported by the Italians. Now, the Egyptian crackdown comes despite efforts by UNESCO to recognise belly dancing on its list of intangible cultural heritage. Amy Sultan, an Egyptian actress and currently one of the country's best-known belly dancers, has been pushing to give belly dancing a better reputation in its country of origin. So is that where it started, in Egypt? Didn't know that. Well, I hope Miss Hagagagagagagagaaa gets out of prison very soon. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with the noise in the background, listening to me babble on. Hope you enjoyed it. And fingers crossed, I do get to do an episode next week without any drilling. But that's nothing I can predict. See you guys next time. Ta-da now.